Look, I'm not a YouTube star. You know what I mean? I don't have you fit into the mold of a YouTube star. You're young.
Oh, thank you.
You're white. Yeah, that's about it. And that makes you a huge YouTube star.
I'm young and white.
You know what I mean? I'm fat. I'm black. Not YouTube star material.
Dude, white is out these days, you know?
White is not out. White is in like Flynn.
I hope not, man. I'm sick of these white people. I don't know, man. Like, I've been watching a lot of like older movies these days.
Yeah.
And I go back and watch these movies and I'm like, man, this cast is so white. Like, it's like uncomfortable how white everything was. Like, it's, yeah, I don't know. That's a whole different tangent to go on, but
yeah, totally different tangent.
I don't know. Do you notice that? No.
I don't notice that. I just notice actors. I guess I've been called naive, and I guess I'm going to stay in the land of naive.
Because I don't know. I notice in more modern movies that there's a lot more diversity in casts and stuff, which I like. That's just, as for, of course it gives more opportunity to more people, but it also just makes things more realistic because that's how the world is.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, if you look at it that way, I don't look at it. I honestly
I don't
really
know, man.
never.
If you watch Friends these days, you're like, New York's not that white, dude.
No. But then again, you could say that there's a lot of white people, but then you can also say that there's a lot of black people in everything that Tyler Perry produces.
Oh, dude. I'd love to talk about that on the show.
Yeah, I don't feel like talking race. I'm so sick of
talking. No, not race. Tyler Perry.
Oh. Well, I'm a little afraid of Tyler Perry because he's tied to Oprah, and I'm definitely afraid of Oprah. And guess what? And we can probably start the show on this. I am no longer afraid of Ellen.
Yeah, that's a good thing to talk about.
5, 6, 7, 8.
What is up, boyos? This is the Jake and Cory podcast. I'm Jake, that's Cory. What's up, Cory?
What's up, Jake?
Oh, just living the life, thinking about Ellen often.
Be good to one another.
Yeah, dude, it's really funny. Earlier when we first started this show, you said we did an episode about Bob Iger when he stepped down, and you're like, I don't want to talk about Bob Iger. I'm scared of Disney. And you're like, I'm scared of Disney. I'm scared of Oprah. And I'm scared of Ellen.
Yeah, because they run everything. They literally, everything they touch turns to gold.
Oh. Yeah, but we did talk about Bob Iger because that wasn't negative news. That was just he stepped down.
Yeah.
And we love him. And he should run for president, and he should be our dictator. We love you, Bob. But yeah, Ellen, she seems to have fallen from the graces.
My, how the mighty have fallen. And it's just being handled ridiculously. But I don't know why, but this is what happens, man. We had one of the most powerful men in Hollywood, when he was uncloached, revealed horrific things about him, but he was still, at the time, one of the most powerful men in Hollywood. And now you have the juggernaut who is Ellen DeGeneres, who has now, it just keeps snowballing. More and more people keep coming out. And when you come out and you say, and this isn't breaking news. I mean, if this is people's first time hearing this, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but it's been the biggest news coming out of Hollywood because nothing else is happening in Hollywood.
Yeah, true.
That Ellen show and staffers, it was a very toxic environment. And what makes it so bad It's not just the fact that it was a toxic environment. It's the fact that Ellen's career rested on the fact of this motto of be good to one another.
Yep.
You know, so it's amazing that the one thing that may or may not be bringing her career to a complete sleeping beauty halt is the fact that she is not known for being good to one another.
Well, yeah, there's a few interesting things about the whole Ellen thing, I think, because for one, I've heard that about Ellen for years, that she's horrible to work for, and no one wanted to like admit it because Ellen has such a for one, she's just a powerful woman,
Yeah,
and
she
there's
controlled
just not
everything.
yeah, and there's not a lot of powerful women, so you know, it would be a shame to see a powerful woman fall.
And not the fact that she was powerful. She was powerful. She was a woman. She was a lesbian.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to too, was like the fact that she came out as, you know, homosexual, and when she came out, she had her sitcom and it got canceled pretty much because she came out as gay, and she had this like amazing redemption arc, and she actually changed the perception, I'm sure, for a lot of people on what homosexuality looks like. She has a very, as far as we see on TV, is like a very, you know, beautiful looking family and like adult looking relationship, you know, and she kind of changed the narrative on what it is to be homosexual, which is great. But then there's also all these allegations of her just being nasty and being mean, and then on top of that, the other rumors are that her producers, a couple of her producers, are known for making sexual advances on both men and women, and she knew about it, and she was like complicit with it because she was good friends with them, and like, yeah, so all that stuff comes out, and you're like, what is true about Ellen, and was it all just a facade? You know, it's a very similar thing to like Bill Cosby. Well, you know, the how extreme it is different, you know, but it's similar in the way that like Bill Cosby lived his whole career as like, I am Mr. Dad, like I am dad, like you see Cosby and he's America's dad, and he was very important to, you know, representation for the black community, and changing the narrative on that as well, just like Ellen was important to the, you know, LGBT community. So it's very similar in that way, where, you know, Ellen was sort of like, I wouldn't say she was everyone's mom, but she was like everyone's like cool aunt, I guess.
Yeah, she was there. She was America's aunt, and it's not so much, you know, about what Bill Cosby did, what Weinstein did, and what Ellen did. The thing is that the overall category that you can put all three of these people in is that they at one point represented something wholesome, something powerful. And
I don't know if Harvey ever represented anything wholesome.
Well,
like,
not representing wholesome, but he was very powerful in Hollywood. He was a juggernaut.
He was,
and
but that doesn't always necessarily mean good.
No, it doesn't necessarily always mean good. But when you have
like,
these
Ellen's
people
thing was
that
always
are
like, I come out and dance, I make everyone happy, I do giveaways, and like,
yeah, but when you
I just
have
wanna
these
make people smile.
powerhouses and these powerful people that are, I mean, and I think that this whole Ellen thing really started to boil over during COVID when her show got shut down and her staffers were basically pretty much furloughed before we knew what furloughed was. And they were let go when you've got, you know, other TV shows that were still paying their staff at least a portion
with that.
of it. And I think that kind of just gave the catapult and the launch site for all of these other allegations.
I remember hearing that when it first started, and I wanted to bring it up on the show, but you're like, I'm scared of Ellen.
I was scared of her. Now it seems like, well, you know what? She ain't all that what she was cracked up to be, and I'm sure if that power is a little less. Now she could still, you know, buy and sell us at the highest price,
yeah,
if she wanted to. But My fear of her is a little less than
So,
now.
her season of her television show just ended, and I actually ended up watching it. I work at a caregiving home. I take care of people, and one of the guys at this home likes to watch Ellen,
Mm-hmm.
so I watch Ellen a lot. Um, Begrudgingly, I've never really enjoyed watching Ellen. um, but
Her talk,
yeah,
just her talk show.
yeah, her talk show.
Yeah, I like her Ellen Game of Games. That's the show that
I've never
I
seen it.
really love watching that because people are funny. I'm worried about Twitch. He didn't do anything wrong.
But yeah, I watched that show, and I watched the final episode of this season, which it ended like a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago at this point.
Yeah.
And when I watched it, the way she did her send off just felt a little strange. And I feel like she maybe was trying to frame it for, everyone working hard because of COVID or whatever. But it also kind of seemed like Ellen was like, I think this might be my last episode.
Yeah.
Almost like she could see the writing on the wall almost. It felt like she was like giving her farewell speech.
Yeah.
Uh
Well, she's got
which
more money than Jesus at this point, so if she didn't work another day in her life, I'm sure she's not going to. And Walmart hasn't stepped up and said anything about breaking ties with her at this point because she has the Ellen DeGeneres line of clothing and stuff like that. So it hasn't gotten that bad for her just yet. She still has
yeah,
revenue streams coming in. Right now, everything is
for
all
sure.
allegations, but when these investigations that have now been launched into her business happenings, if these investigations prove prudent, then we'll start to see companies like Walmart walk away from her and Maybelline.
Well, I think it's sort of like it's a weird example, but it's sort of like Martha Stewart, right?
Yeah.
So Martha Stewart went through all that controversy, but she still has like lines. Well, she did when she was at Kmart. I don't know if she does now, but she still had lines going through all of that and like her cooking line and stuff like
What
that.
was Martha in
She,
jail for again? I don't even
I think it
remember.
was like tax fraud or
Oh yeah,
something.
that's nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah,
Martha
that's why
never
everyone kind
treated
of.
anybody badly.
Yeah, she seems like a sweetheart and a
Uh,
badass.
I think I think she might be a little hard to deal with, but that's just because she's a perfectionist, and normally perfectionists are hard to deal with.
I think she seems like a badass. I mean, she's hanging out with Snoop all the time.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Well, she's high. She
Um,
learned how to smoke the dope and not in the hoose cow.
yeah, she probably always knew how to smoke the dope. But yeah, but like she had to end her show because I think it would probably be weird for her to come out and do a show and not address the controversies. But she could keep the line because she didn't have to address the controversies. I feel like the same is true for Ellen, where like she could probably keep her like makeup line and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's going to be hard for her, at least at first, to keep doing her show without addressing everything going on.
Well, she can keep the makeup line and she can keep those sponsorships going until profits start to be impacted.
Yeah,
When people
exactly.
stop buying it, then those companies are going to turn and look away, and then who knows? There's going to be another starlet that is going to be on the rise. But it's sad. It's actually kind of a little sad of what is happening with her. But I think that when Hollywood stopped, this is the metaphor that I get, Jake, and follow me on this. Hollywood was like this big, huge, moving bullet train. It blurred as it zoomed by you, and it threw off little pieces that it wanted us to consume. When COVID hit, the train stopped. The blur went away. And now we are able to not only see, but examine all of Hollywood's little imperfections.
Yeah, I think that the same is true just in general about everything.
Yeah.
I think the fact that the George Floyd thing happened and all the protests and what's happening in Portland, like I don't think that stuff would have happened without COVID, because what COVID has done is it's made us all sit back, sit in our homes, and just think, which most of us don't have time to think.
Very true. Yeah. It gave us pause.
Yeah. we all just sat back and just thought about things, and we're like, what is really important? My job or humanity,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think people are starting to be like, yeah, humanity's important, not my job. Which your job is important to maintain your own humanity. It comes down to it. But like, the stances that we're seeing, I don't think would have happened without COVID. So I think it's the one like silver lining with COVID is that we're finally outing people. We're finally exposing the truth on a lot of things. But at the same time, people are overthinking,
Yeah.
and you know, our president isn't helping with the whole conspiracy theory thing. That dude just spreads around conspiracy theories like crazy.
Well, I'm hoping
Uh,
that COVID will allow people to sit back and think when they go to vote.
yeah, for
I'm
real.
hoping that people are really going to be able to see. And I hope people are really taking this pause to invest in how they are going to vote in November. And I will go on record to tell you now the President of the United States, the role itself does not have the power to delay an election.
Right? Yeah. I wanted to bring it up, but I know you've been pretty politically silent. But
No, I've not been
um,
politically silent. It's because I disconnected for a while, but this one just didn't wasn't gonna get past me. But um I'm almost angry now. I'm almost angry
yeah,
and bitter at this point where I don't know how much more can be done in front of the Americas and the public. There shouldn't even be a a slight margin between his reelection and Joe Biden. There shouldn't even be a small margin. And I'm not a Joe Biden fan. I'm not a Joe Biden a champion. I'm not. I don't think he's perfect for the job. But what he is he is not Trump. We
yeah,
could put a orange hat wearing ass scratching baboon in that Oval Office right now, and it will be better than what we have right now. If this dude gets reelected in November, we deserve it. Bottom
yeah.
line.
We could put in my 3-year-old niece, and she'd be more compassionate than our current president.
3-year-old niece with a box of 8 standard colored crayons, and she'd be better than what we have now. The kiss of death, the kiss of death should have been delaying elections.
And I think it might be.
That should be the kiss of death. And he's already systematically planting the seeds of an unfair or inaccurate election. You've gone from trying to control the U.S. Postal Service to now trying to delay elections.
Yep.
Because he's shitted on his contacts in Russia and he shitted on his contacts in China that helped him get elected the first time. So now the only other card he has to play is false, inaccurate elections and trying to sequester some people from voting. Dude, come on.
Yeah, what he's doing by, because he's planting the seed, basically saying either we're gonna delay the election, which I think he wants, or we're gonna bring someone else in, and he's gonna say it's invalid.
What the seeds I believe he's planting is he is planting the seeds for if he loses, it was rigged, it was wrong, COVID interrupted it. Everything went wrong. I warned you guys that this was going to go wrong and this is what's going to happen. He strikes me as the type of individual that is not going to go quietly, that is not going to pick up the phone like other presidents have done and conceded. There's not going to be a concession call to Joe Biden.
No.
He is going to drag this out to the point where he's going to force the Supreme Court to elect the next president.
Yeah, this November is going to be very interesting, both as far as like how we're gonna do the election as far because COVID and everything. I think most people can do mail-in votes, and then also just seeing the backlash either one way or the other. Yeah, because I think if Trump wins, there's going to be outcry, and then I think if he loses, there's going to be outcry.
Yeah, there is, and he is going to incite that outcry. He is going to incite.
Either way,
he is going to throw the gasoline on the small little ember of people that are Trump supporters at this point.
But the interesting thing about him saying he wanted to delay the election is maybe the worst thing he could have said, because now even people who have been diehard Trump supporters from the beginning, including like his own cronies in the government, are saying that's like an impeachable offense to even suggest that.
We tried to the Democrats tried to tell the Republicans months ago.
Yeah, well, now the Republicans are like, yeah, that is super unconstitutional for him to even suggest that.
It's dictatorship, dude. That's we had a dude that tried to do that. We had a dude that wanted to curve and change and control elections. We've had a dude like that on this planet. We know who he is. And now we got another one?
Yeah.
Jeez.
What, are you talking about Nixon?
I'm talking about any other president or any other leader that has tried to control elections and have tried to control the postal service and has tried to sequester and quiet social media and the media. That is dictatorship to the ultimate.
I honestly feel like Nixon, in comparison to Trump, is like an angel.
Nixon is a cold cup of water compared to what we're dealing with now.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that back in the Nixon era, people probably feel similar to how we feel now. But we took care of that.
The thing with Nixon is, like, when he got caught, the dude was like, yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
I was totally wrong. I shouldn't be president. He did it with grace.
Yeah.
I mean, what he did was horrible, but like
horrible. But like, if Trump gets caught, it would be sit down for an interview, blaming everybody else on what they did and how what he did was not wrong, was right. And that, I mean, we're talking about a guy, folks, that said, I can stand in the middle of New York City, shoot someone and get away with it. And this son of a bitch believes this. America, if we reelect this dude in November, we deserve everything that's going to happen to this country in the next 4 years.
But like, the thing is like, he already lost the popular vote.
He lost it the first time. But the Electoral College gave it to him.
Right. So like, we don't really have much of a say at all. It's up to our representatives. And
what we do have a say on, though, is we do have a say on who's in Congress. We do have a say on who's in the House of Representatives. We do have a say on what our local governments do. Yeah, that's where our voices do matter. And if you get enough of non-Trumpers into those offices, they'll tie his hands. Or that's in theory, because he's built up so many people around him that he's got this amazing wall of protection around him where even that is somewhat lesser than. But I'm not going to take that mindset anymore. I'm going to take the mindset that my vote's is going to fucking count.
Yeah.
I'm taking that to the stream, and I will start champion on every product that I'm a part of. I will start champion the fact that people need to vote.
Yeah, and don't vote for Joe Jorgensen.
I don't even know who that is. I didn't know that someone that owns a soap company is running.
Does she own it?
I don't know. Jorgensen's is like a shampoo company.
This is Jergens.
But dude, sorry. Hell, who cares? But I was pissed, dude. I was like, we can't. Dude, we can't.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It really is, because it's like, it's so obvious. It seems obvious, but then you talk to like one of these Trump supporters and they're like, what has he done wrong? And it's like, dude, go outside.
Yeah, look around.
Look at Portland. And they're like, well, yeah, that's just a bunch of crazy radicals. And it's like,
Those are mothers standing outside on a. Okay, that's another thing that's a dictatorship. That's straight up dictatorship. Not only trying to control votes, not only trying to control the postal system, but taking away your right to protest.
Yeah,
you can't protest in Washington D.C. right now. You protest in Washington D.C. right now, you get tear gas thrown at you. We can't even protest now. We can't. Mayors and local governors are out joining the forces of these people, and they're getting tear gas too.
Yeah, I saw
That's
one
tyranny.
where like a judge got tear gassed.
Yeah, the mayor in Portland got tear gassed,
and the they sent in the feds over in Portland as well. Trump said he's going to pull them because honestly, he's pulling them because the governor is like a step away from calling in the Coast Guard to combat the feds.
Think about what you just said, bro. We literally have Americans fighting Americans. We got our military fighting our Coast Guard. Our Coast Guard's fighting our Navy. We're going to soon have the National Guard coming in there trying to... Who would have ever thought that we would be fighting amongst ourselves?
I don't know. I kind of saw it coming when he got elected. I was like, this
Jesus,
guy is crazy.
I knew that. I always say when there's a Republican leader that we always go to war. I wouldn't have never imagined that war would have been within ourselves, that he's basically enacted war upon the same people that stupidly elected him.
Yeah, and this guy isn't just some, bumbling idiot like
he's
Bush was.
He's smart. Oh,
he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he definitely knows what he's doing. He's a manipulating son of a bitch. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Well, and he never makes like a concrete sentence. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Never once.
And what a lot of left-leaning people think is, oh, he's just an idiot. He can't even say a concrete sentence. And it's like, no, he does that on purpose. So then when you get in an argument with your crazy uncle who's a Trump supporter, you could say, but he said this, and then your crazy uncle can say, well, he didn't actually say that.
Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing that Trump can do. Trump can say, when you call him on something, he can clearly say, no, that's not what I said. That is a skill. That's a tactic.
Yeah.
It's known as you could call it round speak, where you say something by not saying something. And there was a man that testified on the Hill that Trump gives orders without giving orders. During the impeachment trial, he testified that's how Trump works. It's a skill, man. That's a skill. I see it all the time in corporate America where leadership will say something without saying something.
It's so if something goes right, he can take credit, and if something goes wrong, he doesn't have to take any accountability for it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of genius. Also very sadistic and very evil. I mean, like, and a lot of presidents do that, where they talk like that, where it's a lot of non-answers. But the difference between your typical politician, like let's say like Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama, even George Bush did a lot of that as well. The difference between them and Trump is they did it and they said, we're saying this because we want to help the American people. Trump says it, and his whole stance is, I want to help these American people, this particular set of American people, and the other set of American people are evil and bad, and yeah, that's his whole thing. Whereas every other politician was like, we have disagreements, but I care about the American people as a whole.
Right. Where
he's like, I care about my American people.
And what you just said was proven true just this past week. Last week, with the passing of Representative John Lewis, where you had George W., who him and Representative John Lewis had some big disagreements when he was president. And but what they also had amongst their disagreements was respect. Respect for
Right.
what each other did. And former President W mentioned that when he was invited to speak at John Lewis's funeral last week. You had Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, W, all in one room. Clearly, all three of them have different political views. They approach things differently. But one
And
thing,
COVID.
yeah, and COVID, but one thing that all of those guys have was respect for the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Respect, dude. That's the biggest thing that's missing now. There's no respect in politics whatsoever. There's always going to be infighting. There's always going to be disagreements. There's always going to be different viewpoints, but we never lost respect. Now it doesn't matter, dude. If you're either with me or your whole family can burn in hell.
Yeah, it's like John McCain when he ran against Obama, when people were and Trump was the head of this whole group that were like he's a Muslim and
Yep.
he's an Arab and whatever they were saying, whatever racist bullshit they were saying. And Trump was a huge backer of all that. He kind of spearheaded that whole thing, which I think people forget about. But whenever McCain would hear that, he would say, "No, no, 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 no. Me and Obama, we disagree on virtually everything, but if he becomes president, he will do a fine job."
And when McCain lost, concession call to Obama.
Yeah, and he was always very respectful. I mean, and honestly, like McCain, I was never a huge fan of him politically, but he always seemed like a genuine human, and the things that he stood for because he legitimately believed in them, and he was a war hero. I mean,
Yeah, he's a war hero. Now, I've had the opportunity to meet John McCain on several occasions, too, honestly. And I didn't agree with a lot of his politics, but you couldn't get away from the fact that he was a respectable person. The way he carried himself, the way that he as a man, a former veteran that had to endure some of the most heinous things of war. You know what I mean? You couldn't take that away from him, whether you agree with his politics or viewpoints or not. You could not take away from that. But when you have a sitting president that still launches insults at a dead congressman, senator, how is this man still ruling?
And he legitimately said about John McCain. Donald Trump said this about John McCain. He said, "I prefer my war heroes to not be captured," or something like that. And it's like, Jesus, dude.
You know what?
Like,
man, I'm about to say something really bad that you would have had to edit out. No. I don't see how people aren't invigorated. I don't see how people aren't. And dude, I know Biden isn't the best choice, folks. I know he's not the best choice, but he's all we got to get us out of this some way, somehow, to at least right the ship to where it's sellable. And then we could work on getting someone else in there to replace Biden. But we've got to take the first step.
The one thing that I can 100% say about, the one thing I can 100% say about Biden, because I don't really agree with him on things either. He's very center. Like he's one step away from being conservative himself. But the thing about Biden is through all that, he is very open to listening to new ideas and working with people. I mean, if you watched the debates, Biden and Bernie were obviously at each other's throats through a lot of it. And, once it once he became the candidate, him and Bernie have been working very close together, trying, because Biden's like, listen, man, I want to do what's right and what's best for everyone. So he's asking everyone's opinion. He's trying to take in everyone's takes, even people he disagrees with, like Bernie.
Yeah. How
And go ahead.
no
Sorry.
how I just had this really weird crazy thought. And I know
Mm-hmm.
and I call it weird and crazy because it really is weird and crazy. How amazing would it be if the November elections happen and neither one of them won? Trump didn't win and Biden didn't win.
Who would win?
I don't know. Just like this sneaky, like maybe the Burnsters are just secretly undergrounding recruiting right now, where it's not getting media pub or anything like that. And then before you know it, while we're watching all the votes tally in, we're starting to see write-ins for Bernie Sanders. And then
That's a very
very
pie in the sky, but
it's very pie in the sky. But dude, it's 2020. Anything's possible this year.
true. I mean, all it takes is one good meme for that to take off.
Not even one good meme. It could be a silent little undercurrent that no one's paying attention to, that all of a sudden CNN is reporting and then they say, wait a minute, Bernie Sanders just won Pennsylvania in a write-in vote. Bernie Sanders just won Connecticut in a write-in vote. Boop, 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 boop. And then all of a sudden the map goes from red and blue to now green. Woo-hoo.
The risk with that, the risk you're taking with that is you have the potential of splitting the vote between Bernie and Biden when you do that.
At this time, bro, we couldn't go wrong with either or.
Well, and honestly, I'm not opposed to that idea because
I mean, it was just a thought. I'm just saying. I know it will never happen, but you never know.
Because even if Trump wins the popular vote, it doesn't matter because it's really up to the Electoral College.
Who is the I'm stupid. Who are, in the words of Jerry Seinfeld, who are these people? Who is the fucking Electoral College? Have you ever met anybody that's in the Electoral College? Who are these people? Are they in Sun City? They live in Florida. Who are these people?
Yeah, I have no idea, dude. I honestly think, and this is a hot take and a very controversial statement.
Conspiracy alert in 3, 2.
No, not a conspiracy. But I do think this stance is starting to take off a bit more and more. Every election, it seems to take off a bit more and more. I think the Electoral College is straight up just an outdated system. Because, I mean, the whole reason for the Electoral College in the beginning was, I mean, there were two reasons. But, like, the main reason for the Electoral College in the beginning is because it was impossible to tell the entire country about who the candidates were, who won, who didn't win. It was impossible because, we didn't have phones, internet, newspapers. Well, we had newspapers, but it was very limited, our source of information at the beginning. So we just voted in representatives who could represent us.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like, that's totally unnecessary because we all have the internet. We all can do our own research. Like, we don't need people to decide for us. Like, we are our own people. The other reason was because, like, California has such a huge amount of people that live there compared to, like, Wyoming. So the thought process is, Wyoming doesn't get a say because California has so many people. But my thought process on that is, well, yeah, they have less people. Their votes still count, and it's not like everyone in California votes the same. So I don't know, that whole, like, train of thought just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe someone in the comments could, like, explain it to me better.
Yeah.
But, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, well, yeah, their vote counts less because their vote actually doesn't count less. There's just less people there. We shouldn't vote on landmass. We should vote on population.
Very true. So I Googled Who is the Electoral College? Literally what I just Googled. And what came up from USA.gov. When people cast their votes, they are actually voting for a group of people called electors. The number of electors each state gets is equal to the total number of senators and representatives in Congress. A total of 538 electors form the Electoral College. Each elector casts one vote following the general election. That doesn't say anything.
Yeah, we don't even get to determine who the electors are.
But we do get to determine who our senators and representatives are.
Who choose the electors.
Who choose the electors, who probably choose the electors according to how much those electors, influence their campaign financially?
Yeah, exactly.
Or influence a corporation to influence their campaign?
Well, and that's politics now. That's like late term capitalism. And that's kind of the problem with our current way that capitalism works. You know how we have in Congress we have or in the the Constitution, it says separation of church and state,
Mm-hmm.
we should have a separation of corporation and state.
Yeah, never happen. You're shooting for the moon and you're going to just do nothing but kill someone for Amber's
corporations are like the new church now, aren't they?
They literally are. They control it all. I scrolled down in Google after who is the Electoral College, and it had this little drop down. People also ask, and it says, what is the Electoral College in simple terms? And of course, the simple terms are not simple. Or maybe I'm just dumb. It says the United States Electoral College is a name used to describe the official 538 presidential electors who come together every 4 years during the presidential election to give their official votes for president and vice president of the United States, usually voting for the popular vote. That's not true.
It wasn't true last time. It wasn't true for George Bush's first term.
Nope. You got it wrong, Simple Wiki. You got it wrong.
It's true most of the time. The popular vote and the electoral vote are the same.
Yeah, but these are electors, if these are individual people that come together every 4 years, I want to know who those people are. Where are they? Yeah. And when they come together, why is it so secret? Or maybe I'm just dumb and don't know that they're right in front of my face. Maybe my old ass neighbor is a elector.
It's the Illuminati.
Maybe you're an elector, Jake, and you just don't want to tell anybody because they've sworn you to secrecy, and they're probably holding like a bow and arrow to your left testicle. I've
got my elector license right here if you'd like to see it.
If you say something, then they'll pull the bow and arrow and shoot you in your testicle, and then burn your whole village down or something. I don't know. Who are these people?
What is going on with these people?
Your Jerry Seinfeld is so much better than mine.
Thank you.
My Jerry Seinfeld is kind of wretched.
Yeah, I'm not very good at impressions either.
No. Well, I'm good at impressions, but I can't do a Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, what impressions you got?
Well, my most famous one is Grandma Clump.
What is Grandma Clump?
From The Nutty Professor.
Oh, come on, dude. The
old horny grandma? You're not familiar with that character?
I haven't seen The Nutty Professor since I was like 6 years old.
Oh, well, then there you go. That's how it shows how old I am.
Well, give it to me. Maybe the listeners.
Why? You won't even know it. I'm not going to give it to you. You're not going to know it.
Come on. I know it's Eddie Murphy.
It's Eddie Murphy as an old grandma.
Yeah, I know.
And then the mama, Mama Clump.
Give it to me. Come on now.
Nah. I'm not your little shell monkey.
Okay, fair enough.
No, because I only have one set of headphones on. I have to put on my other set of headphones in order to do it. Because it's a combination of what I can do and a combination of mic technique, and it's just a whole lot. It's almost as complicated as having to take my earbuds out of my ear and walk across the studio to get my hat. I just don't want to do it. Too much work.
What a throwback to something no one heard.
No, not at all. It's so inside.
Yeah, it's like walking down the street and chewing bubble gum at the same time. Really hard to do.
Yeah, because
Um,
you'll maybe trip over a elector.
I feel like Trump at this point is he. I feel like he does these press conferences and says the most absurd shit, like the things that you would never want your president to say. And I have this theory in my head that like he does it on purpose because he actually doesn't want to be president. And every time he leaves those conferences, he's like, I did it. I said the stupid thing. They're not going to vote for me now. And then like he looks online and he's like, these Trump supporters are still backing me.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I'm trying to get because like he doesn't want to admit that he doesn't want to be president anymore because that would look bad for his business.
No, and I think my prediction is thus. When he is out of office, whether he gets reelected or whether he's voted out in November, he definitely in the next 4 years won't be around unless he somehow rewrites the Constitution and allows him to be president longer. If that happens, I'm telling you right now, B2B Radio Network is over. Fat Guy Radio Show is over. Jake and Cory podcast will be over because my little ass will become resident of Guam. There ain't no way in hell I will be a U.S. citizen if that is the case.
Isn't Guam in America
a U.S. territory? Yeah, but he doesn't even know it's there. So
yeah, it's like when the tragedy happened to Puerto Rico. It's like he didn't realize that was like part of
he didn't realize it. But I totally lost my train of thought on where I was going to go.
Well,
with
I said this. I said if Trump officially says that that
I got it back.
Okay,
if he loses or when he loses and he's out of office, I would not be surprised if his arrogant little ass comes out and says, "Gotcha, America. I showed how broken y'all are. Have fun putting this shit back together. I didn't want to be your leader, no way." I think it's all a joke to him.
That would actually be beautiful and a great piece of performance art if he just like ripped off his mask and he's like, I was Sacha Baron Cohen the whole time.
I was Hitler. What? I'm sorry. Strike that.
Well,
yeah, edit that out.
That's pretty obvious. That's what he is.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it seems like I would not be surprised if he says, hey, this has been the greatest, most powerful, biggest, successfulest, hugest reality TV show ever. Ashton Kutcher ain't got nothing on me.
Tremendous.
America, you've been punked.
Yeah, I'm waiting for like Pence to walk out and he's like, I've been Ashton Kutcher the whole time.
Yeah, and then he's got Joe Rogan behind him.
He's wearing his trucker hat.
Or Jimmy Kimmel comes out and says, haha, you guys fell for that girl falling into the table trying to do the upside down twerk challenge. Joke's on you. The last 4 years has been an all joke. Bill Barr is a professional actor. All those other guys are actors.
I'm glad you brought up Joe Rogan, actually.
Oh, shit.
I just want to take a moment.
I don't know anything about.
I'd like to apologize to Joe Rogan. I feel like I was a bit harsh to him last week.
You didn't say anything about Joe Rogan. You talked more about that other guy.
Yeah, I was talking about the intellectual dark web and all that stuff.
Are you afraid of Joe Rogan?
Well, no, because I don't want to frame it wrong. I don't want to frame it like because I do feel like Joe Rogan is harmless. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, he is like America's next door neighbor boy that you really just kind of want to bang, but you don't want to be in a relationship with.
He just gives a lot of bozos a platform to talk. And I got to give him credit where credit is due. He does push back on them a lot. So yeah, just wanted to say that about
when you have a 13-hour show, of course you got to push back a little bit. And breaking news whenever it feels like breaking, Trump threatens to ban TikTok.
Oh yeah,
Why?
That's the big news. Well, because apparently, TikTok is owned in China.
Is he purposely now doing things to make sure that he loses the election? Because the headline says Trump's threatened TikTok ban could motivate young users to vote. Is he purposely doing things now to lose the election? What is his end game?
Yeah, because TikTok is it's growing. Like it's
Huge.
it's bigger than Facebook at this point. And like the fact that he wants to try and ban it, I don't even understand like what TikTok could do to yeah, it's owned by like a Chinese company, but like so what? Like TikTok is just a bunch of dance videos. He says it's because China wants to like it's like a national security risk, but it's like what are they going to get? Like access to our phones? Like I don't know.
The same thing that TikTok, the same data that TikTok collects from you is the same thing that Make Me Look Old app did. It collect the same data. And you know what? The data that TikTok is collecting and it's being funneled to a Chinese company, we're doing the exact same thing. That same data about you and I is being funneled through Facebook. It just makes it different because they're an American company versus a foreign company. Everything you do online is funneled some way, somewhere. I mean,
well,
come on.
Makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
The people, Trump supporters basically, they a few years ago were very upset at Twitter because Twitter kept banning people because they were inciting shit on Twitter, and that most of them are right leaning. So they're like, you're banning our freedom of speech, and that's not fair. And Twitter's like, we're a private company, we can do whatever we want.
Right.
And they're like, but our freedoms, and it's like, but like what Trump is doing is straight up getting rid of a platform, suppressing our free speech. Like we should have the right to use that platform on. And yes, if they do start like data mining us and stealing our information, sure.
They do that now. Every social app does that.
Yeah, but like in a malicious way. I don't even know what they could do. Like,
dude, didn't Facebook go through a big huge lawsuit a few years ago over Cambridge Analytics? It's happening. This is nothing new.
Yeah, and it's like, but like, what does that really do? It just gives them information about how we think. And it's like, well, yeah, that's how we think. And they can make the argument that it can influence how we think, with propaganda. But
it totally does.
And it's like, but like, in what world is propaganda illegal?
None.
That's part of freedom of speech is propaganda.
It's propaganda. It's just so utterly ridiculous. And he says it's over security fears. Security fears, bruh. You're worried about our security fears. We're worried about the fact that we can't even protest. That's a security threat. You can't even protest because you don't have to worry about the COVID going up your nose. You have to worry about a federal agent shooting a mace can up your ass.
Yeah, and then he also wants to send our kids back to school, but thinks we can't have an election.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I saw this pop up across the news feed just this morning. A school, and you know what? I'm not going to misquote it. I'm going to try to pull it back up because I don't want to misquote it. Let me see if I can here. You know what it's like when you scroll past something on social media and then you try to go back and it's like,
yeah, I don't know what that's all about.
Oh,
it's really
I got
annoying.
It. All right, here we go. From the New York Times, this morning, a school reopened.
Before you start, New York Times is fake news.
Oh God, yes, I know. A school reopened. It had to quarantine students within hours. As more schools abandoned plans for in-person classes, one that opened in Indiana this week had to enforce a quarantine after a student tested positive for coronavirus.
Yeah, it's dumb, man. Like
that fast. Boom.
And I am seeing that the numbers are finally starting to plateau a little.
It's not a moment of celebration, but yes.
Yeah, but listen, to me, what that says is this is the perfect time to shelter in place again. Just do it for a month. It's starting to plateau already. So let's just shelter in place for a month, see how low we can get it.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's just nip this thing in the bud, dude.
We could eradicate this in totality. I'm going to try to find this other tweet from my buddy Tony Perkins out of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up New Zealand while you're looking for that.
Yeah, Tony Perkins, I believe, posted a question or reshared a question about what some political figures are throwing around right now, where they're saying, do we go into a forced 14-day lockdown to eradicate this thing, or do we take a longer approach to trying to eradicate this? So I'm kind of scrolling through his tweets to see if I can find
Sure.
what he shared.
Well, while you look for that, I'd like to bring up New Zealand, because if you look at New Zealand, they currently have 0 cases.
Zero cases.
The way they did that, and I don't know, I may have talked about this last episode, but like the way they did that was they literally just locked down super hard. They closed the borders super hard. They gave everyone a rent holiday for 2 months, and everyone stayed home. They closed everything. Like, so you just had to get your supplies. They helped you if you needed supplies, and it's down to 0. And it took 2 months, and people want to talk about freedoms, but like, you're preventing my freedoms by postponing this longer and longer. If we just took care of this, our freedoms would be back quicker.
Sure, I agree with you 100%. It'd take a little small, inconvenient time frame to allow us to get back to normal. And you know what? While I'm scrolling through this, I'm going to bring this up real quick too. Fuck all you people out there saying this is the new normal. Kiss my ass. That, by saying this is the new normal, is being complacent with the way life has been affected. This is not the new normal.
Mm-mm.
We are not going to have to walk around everywhere we go with mask on. We're not going to have to walk around scrounging and fighting over paper towels and cleaning supplies. This is not the new normal. When you say this is the new normal, and any media outlet that is flashing this across their screens, they are trying to brainwash you into accepting that this is the new normal. It's not the new normal. Fuck all your new normal bullshit. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. This is not the new normal. I stand against that 100%.
I agree. It's the new normal for right now.
It's the temporary normal. It's the temporary discomfort.
I will say, though, I do hope that in the future, people now know, like, hey, if I have the sniffles or a cough, they start wearing masks, and that's accepted now.
Yeah, or they stay their little asses at home, which is something that new normal. Stay home when you're sick. That's not new. That's just something your dumb asses ain't done.
Because in America, we're such a workhorse, country. We're very much, our whole country revolves around our economy and not human life. So, I mean, you look at like a place like Japan or China, like they've been doing that forever, where even if they have like this, like a slight runny nose, and they're like, it could be allergies, but they still wear a mask.
Yep.
Just out of respect. That's never been a thing in America.
Never.
I've never seen someone walk around in a mask.
If you have to, and if you walked around in a mask, you were looked at as if, you were up to no good. But now it's like,
I do hope that is the new normal, where it's like, hey, I've got a little bit of the sniffles. I'm not sick, but like, I'm going to wear this mask just in case. And yeah, just, as a common human courtesy.
Well, Tony Perkins tweets a lot, so I'm having a hard time finding this tweet.
Fuck you, Tony Perkins.
But
just kidding.
No,
come on my show.
I love Tony.
Yeah, just kidding. Come on my show.
You
too, Greg Miller.
Tony, he had this. He just retweeted, or he shared up this poll of what would people want to do. Do people want to have a shorter, more stringent confined, or a longer, more laxed confined? Is in general what the tweet was. And I can't quote it per se, and I apologize, Tony, if I'm misquoting or misparaphrasing. But what do you want? Do you want a shorter, more tighter confine, meaning that we all lock the hell down 100%, no talking, put baby in the corner for a couple of weeks, and we eradicate this thing and we kick its ass for good? Or do we want a little bit more laxed, but it takes us a little longer to eradicate it?
Yeah,
That
and
was in general what the tweet said.
it's proven pretty much unanimously around the country that it works to just lock down for a bit.
Yeah,
Like
and even
shit, like
California is now reconsidering locking down again. And I'm sorry, Arizona, but you're now losing. You are no longer first in COVID cases. I
yeah.
believe California has now surpassed Arizona for COVID cases. But then again,
And
California
Texas is above us too.
California opened up after us.
Yep.
You know,
Well,
so
and we also pretty much we didn't close down again, but we are taking at least a little bit more steps. I don't know. It's not great. It's
and
not
I
ideal.
and I know that we've punched our governor in the face on this show, but I will give him one finger pat on the back of him explicitly saying that this is not a time for a victory lap. It's not a moment for a victory lap. And what people should really start taking into account now is the fact that yes, hospitalizations may be down slightly. Yes, positive cases may be down slightly, but you know what's over capacity right now? The freezers that we've had to rent for all of the dead bodies. Take that into account, folks. So before you want to get back out there and start living your life, and you know what? Those freezers aren't just packing the elderly on ice. Those freezers are packing every person from every walk of life on ice, from kids to senior citizens are in those freezers. Take that into account.
So I have to tread very lightly about what I'm about to speak about next for confidentiality reasons.
Okay.
My job, and it involves one of my clients, so I can't
Be very, very
disclose-
vague then. Be very vague
Yeah,
then.
I cannot disclose anything other than it's happening. That's it. I won't say.
Be very vague. I know what you do, and I know you have to be very, very careful. So speak in generalities.
I am very close with this guy's family, so I'm not like super terrified, but like also very vague. I'm not going to say much. But basically, I am taking care of a guy who has COVID right now. Yeah, it happened, dude. It finally. I knew it was a matter of time before it happened. So I'm
that you knew that was going to happen.
I knew it was a matter of time before it, and we've locked down so hard. Our poor clients, you know, they haven't left the house, but it's just, you know, we have to have staff there. So that's how it happened. We had one stupid person come in and they're like, "Hey, I got tested, I'm positive," and I got tested 2 weeks ago, and they didn't say anything. So now, you know, I have a person that I'm taking care of who has COVID, and it's terrifying, and I have to get tested weekly now. Luckily, this person is asymptomatic, and it seems like it's all going to pass and it's going to be okay, but it's still terrifying. Like that, you know.
It's terrifying because he may be asymptomatic, but that doesn't mean if he passes it on to somebody else that they're going to be asymptomatic.
Exactly, and we have to be super careful. And these are people's homes, and now they have to wear masks in their own homes, and like it'd
be a cold day in hell before I end up having to wear a mask in my own house. That's just fucked up. That'll never happen. I will live in a freaking icebox before that ever happens.
You know, but these dudes don't have a choice right now.
People have got to take this serious, whether the numbers are where they are now or not. People have got to take this seriously, because the moment that you let up off the gas, the moment you like, oh, the moment free for all, and you know what? I think we got another spike coming anyway. As soon as these schools start opening back up, these little young knuckleheads that don't give two shits about this thing the whole time. They wanted to go out and hit the clubs. They wanted to go out and party. They wanted to go out and hang out with friends. Now, when they're going to be now back into these schools and in these colleges where there is no supervision, get ready for the cases to spike.
Yeah, well, and you know, it not only just college kids. It's you know, mainly we're talking about because I think most colleges can do online stuff, and that's fine. But what's really going to affect it is, our public schools are reopening, and these are kids. Like, these are kids that shouldn't have to worry about this, that are now, they say, it's a 2% risk, and it's like, well, yeah, that means 2% of your kids are going to die.
Yeah. And if you got 2% of 11.5 million kids back in school, that's a very, very large number. And I've talked to friends that are educators.
2.5 million.
Yeah. I've talked to friends that are educators. They're nervous. They're scared because if they have you, there's no way you can tell a fourth grader to
My
social
math is wrong there, by the way.
Yeah, you're just a little bit, but that's okay. We're internet
250,000.
Yeah, we're podcasters. We're not mathematicians. But there's no way you can expect a fourth grader to social distance because they just can't manufacture that in their mind. And you can't tell a college student to social distance because a college student has such an indignant attitude at any age of their collegiate career. They're going to buck against it just because they want to. So you can't expect it to happen. It's going to be, I would imagine, here's the thing. If these kids go to these schools and they start testing positive, where the hell are these kids going to go if they have a vulnerable adult in their home? Are we going to start opening up camps to put these kids in until they can test clear? If you got a kid that goes to school, you got a college kid that goes off to college and contracts the coronavirus, and they have elderly parents or they have parents that are immune compromised, how is that kid supposed to come home?
Yep.
Where's that kid going to go?
Yeah. I saw a great post that was like, we're going to send these kids back, and, one kid is going to show up with his Batman mask, and one kid is going to show up with his He-Man mask, and they're going to be like, hey, I'll trade you my Batman mask for my He-Man mask. And now it's just spreading all over the place. Like,
you're talking about kids that will take a sucker out of their mouth and stick it in their friend's mouth because their friend wanted to know what flavor their sucker was.
And you know what? They should do that because they're kids.
And kids are taught to share. And now we're telling them not to share the coronavirus.
Yeah. Yeah, but kids should be doing that stupid shit. Like, that's what they're supposed to do. But, and it's our responsibility to make sure that these kids are safe. And sending them back is just not safe right now. And it would be safe if we just took the precautions from the beginning and just locked down properly.
Yeah, totally, but you didn't have a leader that was bold enough to say that. Now the little mother effer is walking around with a mask on. And I'm like, you know what? That's pretty much like taking the hooker off the street, screwing her brains out, banging her head up against your headboard, and then putting on the condom.
Yeah, it's frustrating, man. It's
very frustrating, and I'm glad we've gotten back to bitching and moaning on the Jake and Cory podcast. Makes me happy,
all about, baby.
Makes me feel good in my giblets.
Yeah, join us next week.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap it up. It's been a very doom and gloom episode, but
I don't think it was doom and gloom. Stop saying shit like that. You're worse than the people that are saying this is the new normal. It was a great episode. It was an amazing episode. People are going to listen to this and they're going to share it with their friends and their family. And before you know it, Jake and Cory podcast is going to be as big as the Jake and Cory podcast is ever going to grow, because I'm going to speak against your naysaying. And I'm going to say this is going to become popular and it's going to be huge and people enjoy this because we are damn good podcasters, Jake, and you're dreamy as fuck.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be tremendous. Magnificent.
And no more TikTok.
Glorious. We're actually streaming the show exclusively on TikTok.
In protest.
In protest.
And we were streaming this whole show on TikTok in protest, and I have been down on one knee the entire show.
Well, Cory, thank you for joining me once again for the Jake and Cory podcast. It'd be weird if you didn't, since your name is in the title. I didn't have a choice.
I didn't have a choice.
Go check out Cory's new show that he's doing right now called Fat and Furloughed, his mini series. You may see a special guest. One, he looks a lot like me.
Yeah, Jake is scheduled to be on Tuesday. Will he actually pick up the call? We don't know, but tune in to find out.
We will find out. Yeah, so check out Fat and Furloughed over on the Fat Guy Radio Fat Guy Radio Show. Is that the name of the channel? Fat Guy Radio Show on YouTube or Spotify or iTunes or
we like to
anything.
say we're all popular on all popular podcast platforms. Easy for you to say. Damn.
You could look it up anywhere. Fat Guy Radio Show. It's all one word. Good stuff. Their show is fantastic. I love all those boys. Check out the Loner Gamecast every Tuesday. It's always the day after this show drops. Lots of big video game news happening. It's an exciting time to be a gamer. Yeah. So thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 5, 6, 7, 8.